Welcome to Drawing Wild Washington. I'm your host, Jed Dunkerley, Associate Artist with the Burt Museum at the University of Washington in Seattle. In this program, we're drawing life from the Puget Sound Wetlands. This is the ecosystem around the Puget Sound, and it's got land that's got water on it, like swamps and lakes and rivers and ponds and things like that. In this episode, we're going to be drawing an invertebrate, the green darner dragonfly, a fish, the Coho Salmon, and a herp, the painted turtle. So we're going to start with the green darner dragonfly, which is Washington's state insect. It is named the darner because of its resemblance to a darning needle, if you knew that. And we'll start with, these things perch on grass a lot, cattails we drew in the last episode. So I'm going to start by just drawing a couple of long straight lines to represent a piece of grass. And then we're going to draw the insect on top of that. All right, so we'll start with the head. It'll be right up here on top of the piece of grass. It'll be three small ovals kind of smashed together. Okay, like that. Okay, and I'm going to draw with very light lines with my light colored pencil just to start off all of these. Next up is the thorax, the main part of the body, which is about 3 times as long as the head. Okay, 1, 2, maybe more like that. Okay. And then the abdomen, which is a long rectangle, which is twice as long as this. So measure that. I'm going to get to about here. Now, does that look like a darning needle to you? Thought so. The wings are 4 sort of ovals that all come off of this thorax part. So I'll start with 4 little circles like that, kind of in a pattern, like on a dice. And then we're going to draw, these wings are going to each be as long as the abdomen part back here. So kind of measure that. And sometimes I'll draw out some lines as like targets and say, all right, that's about how long that's going to be. And then this one comes out like that. And I'm drawing pretty casually right now. Very light lines. I'll fix the details later. Okay, and that's the basics of the green darner dragonfly. Next you have the legs that come, again, off of this. All the action parts come off this middle part, the thorax right here. So the leg, I'm going to draw, they come in 3 sections. And we're going to go 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and you can kind of angle them. They bend in quite a few different directions. So this is going to come off here. And then the other set of legs, as you know, they have 6 legs, is going to be on the other side of the body. And so we're not really going to draw that. We'll see one leg coming out right here. Okay, and that's the basics. For mating, these things, you might have seen them when they're mating, as I draw the wing patterns here, which kind of radiate out like this. They mount each other head to tail and make this sort of circle position called the wheel position. Then they have to lay their eggs underwater. And when the young hatch, the babies, also known as nymphs, have totally different body types than this. That could be a whole different show. I'm going to get my dark pencil and start just drawing in the details now that I'm pretty certain about what this thing looks like. So the nymphs, I was saying, they look totally different. They live underwater and they eat aquatic insects. And they eat tadpoles and they even eat small fish. They're pretty voracious eaters. And then when they grow up to be adults, they eat insects that they catch while they're flying. So you got to be a pretty good hunter to do that. Now notice this wing back here will kind of go down and out like that. So I draw it in as an oval, and then at this stage I'll go and shape it a little bit more. Make sure you look at photographs when you do this, and it'll really kind of give you a sense of how these wings look. And then we'll draw in the legs, like that. And I'll draw in some of this wing pattern that radiates out. These are sort of very geometric patterns, and not sure that any 2 wings are the same. You could spend a lot of time putting in details on these wings. I won't do that right now. I'll let you do that from the photographs that you're looking at. When they're at rest, they hold their wings out like this, side to side, which is the difference between them and the damselfly, which looks very similar, but it holds its wings straight back. So if this were the damselfly's wings, instead of going out to the side like this, they would come straight up at you like that. And that's pretty much the green darner dragonfly. Okay, the basic body plan. Anax junius. Okay, we're going to move on. Next up, I'm going to do the Coho Salmon. Oncorhynchus kissich. Don't make me tell your Oncorhynchus on you. Salmon are very interesting fish, and the Coho salmon is no exception. They have an ocean phase and a spawning phase. So for part of their life, they live in the ocean, and for part of their life, they come up into the Puget Sound Wetlands, which is why we're drawing them in this. I'm drawing 4 circles side to side. Okay, and this is to get the dimensions of the body right. The body is roughly 1/4 as tall as it is wide. So if you have circles, they're as tall as they are wide. Just draw 4 of them, and then I'm going to make an oval as wide as those 4 circles, or sorry, and as tall as one of the circles. So that's how I make the body fit in there. And then for the, when they are in their spawning phase, so when they come into the rivers, a lot of times they'll change their form. So they look totally different, and they get these really cool hooked jaws. So that's what I'm going to draw, is the version of the spawning salmon with the hooked jaws, because I think it looks cooler. You can do your own version if you want. But those jaws, to draw them right, I'll draw a little oval right up here at the front, kind of angled down like that. Okay, and that'll be the mouth. And I can draw a little more detail around that later. The eye is going to be right above the back part of the mouth right there. And just draw a little circle. And the gill is actually, since I drew these circles to space out the body, the gill's just going to be right about where that circle part is. Okay, so all kind of right there together. And then it's all about drawing the fins. There are so many fins here. Okay, it's hard to keep track. But we're going to start with the tail fin, which is the largest fin, and then I'm going to get smaller as I go around. So sometimes I'll draw a little circle right there to just connect. And then I'm going to draw a triangle that's about as tall as the body that overlaps that little circle and is flat on the back right there. So that's the salmon's tail. Okay, and then I'm going to kind of draw the line around the body. It's going to curve a little more on the belly, and then it'll be a little bit flatter along the top. And that's how you get that distinctive salmon shape. Now, the next largest fin is the dorsal fin, and it is about halfway back on the body. We've already sort of divided the salmon into 4 different parts because of the circles. So that fin's going to be right here, and it'll be a backwards facing triangle like that. Maybe a little bit of a scoop there. Okay. And as I draw the fins, I should put the texture in. In the past episodes, we talked about this. All the fins have these little rays of cartilage going out to support their structures. The next largest fin after the dorsal fin is the anal fin, which is a triangle almost as big as this, but about the same shape. And it's about 1/4 of the way back. Okay, so it kind of goes right about here. Okay, so biggest, second biggest, third biggest. The next largest fin is the pectoral fin, which is just behind the gill, and it's kind of lies flat against the body in this particular view. It's going to be a little bit smaller than that one, and it'll be like a triangle with some of those rays right there. And then next up is the pelvic fin, which is a skinny triangle right off the body, right here, underneath the dorsal fin. And it's got one more fin, this little nubbin back here called the adipose fin, which is right above the anal fin. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fins on the body, and then a tail fin. That's a lot of fins, but it's important to get them right for doing salmon. And then the next thing is you got a lateral line that runs down the side of the salmon from head to tail. And above that is where you're going to get your darker coloration. So I'm going to put in some texture up here just to get some graphite in there and kind of smudge it along the top. And now I'll draw in all my lines now that I've set it up. And you'll get to see salmon. Also known as the silver salmon, in case you've heard that. And coho salmon are a major food source for people and orcas around the Puget Sound Wetlands area. Coming around here, there's that hooked mouth, and there's always, fish always have these like lip parts. You've probably seen. And so look at the details of the face. There's kind of a little bit more that goes into it. And this just gives you the basic positionings of everything that's on there. Okay? These can be up to 28 inches long and weigh up to 36 pounds. And they can live out in the saltwater for about 1 to 3 years before they come into the Puget Sound Wetlands for spawning. But there you go. There's your coho salmon, Oncorhynchus kissich. Last but not least, we're going to do a painted turtle. This is our herp. And this is called Chrysimus picta. We're going to start with a big oval body. Okay? Big oval body. So we're going to draw a big oval like that and then kind of flatten the bottom part. Now, in between the bottom and the top, I'm going to draw a wave-shaped line about 2/3 of the way down. So if this was split into 3 equal parts, and you can use your ruler if you want, we're going to do a big downward curve, and then when it hits the halfway point, it's going to go up and then down. So it kind of makes a big, slow wave like that, right? Then, next up, we're going to start with the back leg, and it's going to come out from under the bulge on the wave here. It'll be a kind of a triangle about as tall as the shell, and it's going to end in curving claws like that. That's kind of fun. All right, and the front leg's going to be a skinnier rectangle about as long as that. It's going to angle out in the other direction. And it's going to end with kind of a circle here, and then more claws, lots of claws. Okay, so that's the start. Next, we're going to do the head, which is about half as long as the body. Okay, so about that long, again, up here. And it's going to be at about a 60-degree angle. A lot of times they'll assume this pose because they're sticking their head up out of the water or they're laying on a log. Okay, and it's going to get a little bit wider and then a little bit narrower, and it's a little bit flatter on the bottom. And then it comes out of the shell right there. All right, the mouth is a small angle on the bottom part of the head. Okay, right under here. So angle up. And then the eye is a small circle right here above where the mouth ends. Okay, so everything's kind of right there, and the eye's got kind of a line across it. And then the head has these stripes that kind of come back, and you can draw, there's light and dark ones. So I'm just going to draw in the direction of the stripes right here, and I'll come in and color them in a little bit later, and you can use colors as well. The females of the species have shells up to 10 inches long. Males are a little bit smaller, but males have longer tails. So for the tail, I'm just going to draw a little bit of a little triangle back in the back here. All right, now we're going to get the shell. The shell has a really colorful pattern on the bottom, but we're not going to be able to see that. But what I am going to draw is the texture across the shell. So I'm going to flatten this curve a little bit. And it's got kind of a frill. So I'm going to draw another wavy line down there. And I separate this into about 12 rectangles here. So 1, and they're smaller and skinnier up here to show that 3D. So they'll be smaller here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay? So it goes kind of like that. These are skinnier, and then it gets bigger, and then they get skinnier again to make it look like it's three-dimensional. Okay, and then there's parts of the shell you can't really see in here. It's pretty dark. Up here, there's 3 big sort of hexagons. And then 1 kind of smaller one. And then there's just a couple of kind of connector lines up here. And that creates the texture on the shell. So it's like rectangles, and then sort of hexagons, And then some more hexagons. It's almost like drawing a pattern on a soccer ball if you know how to draw that. Okay. These are only active during the day, and they get their warmth from the sun, which is probably why you see them basking on logs. I'm going to start drawing in the details. The feet have these big scales on them that are kind of like circles and geometric shapes. If you want to go in and draw, take a look at the photographs, and you can draw the feet in there. And these claws are pretty fierce looking. I've never been clawed by a turtle. Not sure that I want to. But every time I try to get near them to like take photographs, they jump into the water. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. Okay, and again, what I'm doing now is going in with my darker pencil and darkening in all the stuff I want to kind of keep in my drawing. Stuff I did in red, that'll kind of fade away. You can go in with a pen if you want. I got this little part of the shell that peeks out right there. Okay, and the nose is like a little bit of a point right there. And again, here's my dark and light stripes. And again, take a look at how these do. They're kind of individually different for each turtle, but they follow the basic patterns, and they stripe down the head like that. And then when I get under the shell, everything's kind of in shadow. Okay, so draw these front claws. Some texture on the scaly part. Some shadows under here. A little bit of shading. And there is your painted turtle. I got this guy resting on a log, so if you want to draw in the log that he's on, because I love doing that. All right, and in winter, they will hibernate down at the bottom of the pond. They bury themselves in the mud. Another interesting fact. Thanks for watching Drawing Wild Washington. Don't forget, drawing starts with seeing and thinking. So practice seeing the shapes within, thinking about how they put them together. And there's really nothing you can't draw. So till next time, see you later. What's that? You want more? Well, why didn't you say so? We've got coloring book pages available for each one of the ecosystems we've done a program on, and we've got the entire mural available as a silk-screened poster for purchase on the website. So check out the links and get yourself some more ecosystem art.